All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 89th episode of The Get Down. My name is Cream.
Gary W. here.
We have a very special guest this week. We got my man RM from Boston, Providence, Mass in the house. What's up, RM?
What up? How we doing?
Good, man. I think this pod is a long time coming. Like, you and I basically recorded a pod for an entire weekend when I came up to stay with you a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, you probably could have got a couple episodes out of that.
We had like a master class in his apartment throughout the weekend.
Yeah, well, that's back and forth getting frustrated because you knew exactly what I was talking about with everything that we were talking about.
That's what Kareem came back saying. That was the first thing he said. He's like, I should have just recorded a bunch of podcasts up there because that's all we did was, vent and bullshit about the, industry ongoing. So,
well, when you run into somebody that kind of does the same things or similar things as far as like booking and dealing with people and dealing with managers and owners and other DJs and divas and difficult people, it's like then you start going down those conversations of like, oh, I had somebody like this. Well, I had somebody like this. Oh, no way. Well, we could have hours and hours of stories.
It's refreshing to know that like everyone deals with the same bullshit, just different areas of the country.
Yeah, it's like it feels good to know it's not personal.
Yeah. So like, I think that was the biggest takeaway for me was like, yeah, you're a DJ and you're doing the circuit up in your area, but I think you also, I didn't realize how much you were doing that's similar to what Gary and I do, but you're just by yourself and like you're putting on your friends and your DJ friends. You don't have like the Get Down company, so to speak, that's official, but you're kind of doing the same thing. So I didn't realize how much you were doing up there, which is dope.
Well, I'm really lucky that a lot of the places that I work at trust me and like what I do to the point where it's like, hey, give us as many people that sound something like you. You know what I mean? And I'm also lucky that I've had a lot of people that have helped me, and a lot of the people that have helped me are also very talented. So it makes it easy for me to want to help those guys, just like I need other, like we spoke, or like just like I need people to help me, and I've needed people to help me get where I'm at. Like I want to try to help people get to another level than they're at now. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting take because when like in my come up, there wasn't really a lot of people. So it was so cutthroat in our market, right? So like a lot of people weren't helping each other out. And we've said this time and time again, Get Down started because Kareem and I helped each other out and filled each other's schedules out instead of having to reach out to promoters and whatnot and go through like third party bookers, which obviously we fill their schedules out. And then that's kind of why we do what we do, because, we helped each other out, and then it was just second nature to just reach out to other DJs and then help them out and help them grow. So yeah, I was kind of wondering how and why you started, but it makes a lot of sense because when like started in like booking other people, because when I was coming up, like the venues that I worked at all said, hey, do you have other DJs that sound like you, or, DJ friends that you can bring in that can kind of supply, have a similar vibe. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense in how you go about doing your business.
Yeah, and I mean, like with anything else, you didn't get to the point where you're at without somebody helping you, and I know I had a lot of help on the way. So I try to always find the people that are in it for the right reasons, because we all know there's a couple of different reasons you can be in nightlife. You can be in it for the music, you can be in it for the alcohol, or you can be in it for the bitches. If you're in it for the bitches and the alcohol, you're not going to make it very far. You're probably going to be out of this game by the time you're like 26, 27. If you're in it for the music and you're talented, you have a chance. Then you have to start adding all the business sides to that. So there's a lot of angles. Obviously, once you start getting into the talent aspect and getting into some of the bigger venues, like now you're putting your name on them too. You know what I mean? Like this person's going to come in and do this job. Like Cream's going to go to Avalon and he's going to crush it. I have no doubt. You know what I mean? But you also have to have people that you don't have the doubt in. So it takes both sides.
I think that's the hardest thing, is like finding someone that you have 100% confidence in, especially like you and I, where we've talked on the phone and we've DM'd and we text, but like until you actually hear each other play, it's like, well, I think this person's going to do a good job, but I don't really know.
Yeah, like,
So like it's nice to then get the feedback. It's like, oh, well, Kareem did a great job, or RM did a great job, and it's like, all right, good. I figured he would, but I want to. You have to like know that they're going to do it first.
yeah, for sure. And even like I like at when I had you out here and you did Bodega that night, and we were supposed to be together. Like that venue, the manager over there, Jason, he essentially does like almost whatever I ask of him when it comes to like dates and bookings. And like I got tempo on over there, no questions asked. You know what I mean? No questions asked. And it's like, so relationships like that, like the night that I was there with you, it was a slower night, and I knew I was going to be with you the following night. So the last thing I wanted was for you to feel like you had to impress me in front of a room. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I left you that night. It's like I went up to Jason and I was like, listen, I'm gonna take off. I told him to pay me less money. I was like, give me this. I'm gonna let him rock this night himself. And I took off because I wanted you to be comfortable just playing for the crowd. Because sometimes when you're playing for a crowd and it's not full, and you know what I mean, you gotta work a little harder and go different places than try to do the stuff that would be deemed impressive by a DJ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then when I got to hear you on Sunday at Torino, packed house, you could do essentially whatever you wanted. You crushed it. So like, that's when I wanted to hear you play. 'Cause it's like, I didn't want to make you feel like I gotta impress this dude with freaking half a room. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no, I know that sometimes when you're a DJ, you gotta work, and that was a night you had to work. So I was like, let me let this guy work. But on Sunday, you did a great job. So I was really happy.
I appreciate that, and thank you. And like I got to hear you play, and it's like you hear another DJ play, and it's like within the first two transitions, it's like, oh, all right, we're good. Like he's good to go. Like he's dope.
All right, he can move. He can move through that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's always an interesting like thing back and forth where you see it and you're like, you hear 2 songs, 3 songs, 4 songs, and you're like, all right, I'm going to get out of here. Kareem, you got this. Or like, RM, you got this. Gary, you got this. I'll see you later.
I started the night you jumped on, and I was just like, this night isn't that crazy right now. It was starting to come in, but I was like, it's not too crazy. I was like, I just want this dude to be comfortable. I'm going to take off. I'm OCD, and I really give a shit. I don't know if you guys can tell. So like, I would not have left if I didn't hear within the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes that you were rocking out while I was having a drink that I knew you were.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So you like that night was a night where you had to work a little bit, right? Do you as a DJ kind of like those nights, since you are playing mostly like high end venues where you kind of show up and you headline and it's good and it's busy and bottles are coming out? Like every once in a while, is it refreshing to go into a room and be like, all right, I got to like really like do my thing to get this half filled room rocking like I would normally on a full headliner night?
Oh, I need those nights. I need those more than the headliner nights are like cookie cutter to me. You know what I mean? It's like you go in, and if you can DJ and you've been doing this for how many years, it's like you got a packed club. I can do whatever I want. I can transition the energy however I want to do it. It's just the easiest thing in the world. But if you got a room that only holds 200 people, and right now you got 60, 70, it's like, all right, you got to guess what's on these people's Spotify accounts. Like you got to hit them in the vein. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them constantly, you can't miss. So yeah, it adds a little bit of an aspect to it, but it's pretty cool when you're going through music and like the way it trains your mind when like, all right, that song hits, like that's like doing a bench press for when you're DJing, like, all right, when this song hits, what are my options? You're going through things differently. So you need those nights to stay sharp, I feel.
Do you feel like do you feel like those nights you're pulling music out? You're obviously pulling music out that you might not usually play. And then you, like when you find yourself back in front of a headlining set in front of a big crowd, and then now maybe you're like, wow, I played this song the other night and it hit. Like, let me try that out here. Do you feel like it gets like your creative juices flowing for your headlining 100%.
Set? That's why I say you need those nights, because we are all creatures of habit and we know what works. and we have routines, and anything that can force you to get out of those routines is just something different, another aspect of it. And I like anytime I'm doing anything, so even if I'm playing and I'm pulling stuff out of my ass essentially, like I'm still trying to do stuff with it. Like no matter what song I'm playing, I'm like I'll try to do something going in and out of it to make it work real well. So that always, like I said, it's like a mental push up. And anytime you start going down those paths with any different music, it's like, oh wait, that worked pretty good. I think if I made the edit to go like this, that would be crazy. You know what I mean? Like anytime you can mess with different music, I think it's and playing these places monthly like Avalon or Royale, like I can't go in there and play the same set I played 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Like even if it's like you gotta, all right, you might play Tremor and Shots and Pursuit of Happiness and this stuff, but it's like you got to play it different,
Right.
and like you might be able to pick from something you did like at this club a year ago or this, but it's like you got to make sure you stay away from essentially the stuff that you did at that club. So it's this, you have to recreate yourself essentially.
That's always the biggest challenge, because you know what works in a particular room, but at the same time, you also know that if you do the same thing that you always do in that room, staff's going to start saying, well, this guy, I know what this guy's going to play. And once that happens, like your time there is probably over.
Oh, and it's so frustrating because especially like some of the, if it's like a tone play or something tricky, it's like, damn, I put all this effort and work into this and I can do it twice, but then I got to put it in a folder and I'll bring it back on like New Year's Eve or something. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like you put all those tricky transitions and those transitions that like really work. They take a lot of time and mind, thought, and energy. People don't realize like putting all that stuff together, that takes a lot of energy. So having to recreate it, like cook the same meal, but you're not allowed to use those groceries, but you need to use the same groceries essentially.
just in a different way.
Yeah, because you can't, like, what new music comes out within 3 weeks? Like, thank God Drake came out with that album. Because now there's just so many remixes and so much shit that's now acceptable almost, I can say, or people will dance to it more so because it's like Drake made something that was housey.
Yeah.
So it's okay for you to like this now.
Yeah, the minute that came out, you just knew there was going to be 100 million remixes, and it was just going to make life a little easier from, you know, going from your hip hop to your house, and then just, yeah, you know, as you said, people accepting things.
I just wanted to be an opener.
So I want to transition away a little bit from like the booking side of things. We'll get back to it, but you know, you're bringing up like reinventing yourself and using tone play and wordplay, and I think that's what stood out for me when I got to hear you play is the way that you transition songs and you use wordplay, and the way that you transition genres to me was unique and cool and different and really stood out for me. So
I appreciate that.
Why is that important to you? And like, who were some of your DJ influencers that kind of made you want to DJ in that style?
Oh man. So, well, I started DJing in New Bedford, Mass, and nobody that listens to this podcast will know where that is. And that's but the reason I'm saying that is it's not Boston. It's not New York. It's a very small place, and people want to hear what they want to hear. And everybody wants to hear something different. So when I started DJing, naturally, I trained myself to go through things fast because everybody wanted something different at the local place that I was at. You know what I mean? And it's like, no matter what you're playing, somebody's not happy. So you're like trying to get in and out of things fast to make everyone happy. And I feel like just being able to move fast is one of the most important things. And then the rest of it is essentially just learning how to like transition your energy and move a room. And I got lucky twice. There was the first time I got a residency in Providence, it was under a DJ named DJ Naughty. And he was essentially the best DJ in the city, but like pretty much by far. I don't know if I'm going to offend anybody with that, but like he was the dude at the time, and he was doing scratching. And this is probably like 2011 or 2012 at a club named Van Gogh that's in Providence. Not even, I think it burned down like 5 years ago, but he super clean, not really tone play, but like word play, scratching, like everything super on point. So obviously me looking at him, it was like, well, if I can't sound something like that, how can I expect work? Like,
Right.
this is the first guy I'm getting put in front of. Like, regardless, I don't know that he's the best. I just know, like, all right, well, I come from New Bedford. I can move through some songs quick. I get put in front of this guy, and then it's like, all right, well, that's different. That's a lot better than what I do. I can't do that. Damn, my left and right hand won't do that at the same time if I'm trying. Like, so that forced me to try to step my game up. And from that, after working with him for a while, when I first moved into the Boston scene, my first opportunity to play in Boston was probably like 2013ish or 12. And I opened up for DJ Case. And again, coincidentally, got put in front of probably, to me, the cleanest, most open format, you know what I mean? Very technical. And it was like the things that, it was almost like he was a yin to a yang with the other DJ that I had learned from, because the other DJ was super like cutty and he was super clean with all his transitions. Everything was smooth. Like, and that was the first time I ever saw a DJ use like multiple edits of the same song, where you go from like one edit to this part in this edit to like the back end of this edit. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, you know, I never thought to do that. It's like, once you play an edit, you're not just committed to playing that edit. Like, oh, okay. So it's like learning from guys like that. I just took what they taught me, and I gave a shit, and I just love music. You know what I mean? So you always got to try to find a new way to, and some way to be different. And I just always try to make people dance and sing. I've never seen somebody singing and having a bad time. So I just try to make them sing.
I think you're in the minority when you say that, like, your influences came from like directly like people that you worked with and grew up, you know, like it's always, you ask a million DJs this question and it's always like some famous DJ. It's AM, it's, you know, Funk Flex in our market. It's whoever, Tiesto, whoever it might be. Like, you rarely get direct market influences. That's a crazy answer to me for some reason.
Well, AM is, I think everyone looks up to those guys. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's one thing to like look at an AM and yeah, AM's the GOAT, but you can't listen to AM and figure out how he's doing that.
Right.
That's like calculus 5,000. You know what I mean? It's like these guys got me to a point, or like helped me get to a point. They taught me algebra. They taught me basic math so that I could get myself to a point where when I look at the calculus, I can break it down now.
Yeah.
I can figure that out now. All right, I knew how he did that. He made this, he did that, he cut the edit, he did it. Like, and that, like, getting you to that point, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, AM for sure. Like, stylistically, I always listen to his mixes. I love the way he went through music and the freedom that he had. You know what I mean? I didn't have that freedom all the time. And even now, like I said, like playing like back then, you don't really have the freedom. You got to make the crowd happy. You got to hit the vein all the time. So once I started to play some of these venues that were busier and had consistent people where it's like, I'm leaving if you don't play my song next. You know what I mean? Like, people, just a crowd. I was able to start experimenting with doing different things and like moving into different genres a little bit. But I was always mindful to go in and get out, because you can overstay your welcome sometimes with some of that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just, those guys got me to the point where I could understand what a DJ AM brings to the table. And
yeah, I think
appreciate
something that younger DJs or less experienced DJs might not understand is being able to stand in a DJ booth and watch one of the best local DJs in your market do what they do and control a crowd and watch what they do technically is like the single best learning that you can receive, period.
Yeah.
Because I felt the same way as a young DJ who got lucky enough to be a resident and opening a room that had a lot of the high-end talent locally come in every single weekend. And like watching those DJs using the effects, creating a specific intro to start your headliner set, like just technically being able to go back and forth on turntables, like all that stuff was more important than me sitting in my room and being like, well, how the fuck did he do this? Like, I have no idea. I don't even know what this is called. Like, what is this? I don't know. Where if you create a relationship with those people that you look up to locally and you could watch them and you could ask them questions, that's like the best education that you can get, period, as a young DJ.
Yo, shout out my guy, DJ Rucker at Avalon, the lights and one of the DJs over there. I literally had this conversation with him like last month afterwards. We were hanging and talking and I was like, listen, because, he's a passionate dude and he wants to get better. And I'm like, hey, you really want to get better? You have some of the best DJs in the world literally standing right next to you. You get to see how they go through their laptop. You get to see how they prepare everything on their equipment. I'm like, dude, just stare at them. All of them. Like I'm like, you think what I'm doing is great? That's awesome. Like they have like, you know what I mean? They have so many great DJs there. I'm like, and everyone's different. That's the thing. It's like, especially us, once we start getting to the point where we have to work on our skills. We know the things that we can get better at because obviously we've broken ourselves down and we know our, just like basketball players know their games, we know our skill sets. So like you get to that point where you can work on yourself, you know what I mean? But until then, take all this information in. Like everything that you can learn from those guys is like so valuable. I couldn't even explain it.
Because you're also watching crowd reaction. Like you don't have to play a song and then dig through a computer. You could watch the person make the transition or make the whatever they're doing and then see what it does directly. So that's where I think it's really valuable because you can see what works and what doesn't work. And then when you're in that situation, you can follow suit and just do the things that worked. And it's like you're setting yourself up to be in a much better place to have success in a nightclub. So I think that's just like one of the most important things.
Yeah, that's huge. If anybody has the opportunity, and that can transition straight into like, how can you get yourself opportunities and like get yourself into the scene? And it's like, I have so many DJs that hit me up. So many DJs. So now I got to ask a question. If you're working with these people and somebody's either putting money in your pocket or you trust them because you have a history with them, why does somebody think if they don't support any events, they've never met you, they don't follow you on Instagram, they don't like your stuff, why do they think that, hey, I'd like to open up at the biggest venue that you play at? When can we make this happen? I don't understand some of these kids these days.
It's just not knowing. It's just not having any real idea. It kind of goes along with another thought I had while you were talking was like crowd expectation too. It's like the crowd wants to hear what they want to hear. Like it like they expect like they're the only person. You know what I mean? It has like that same kind of vibe where it's like, well, I'm the only one that matters. It doesn't matter what you want to play. It doesn't matter what this person wants to play or wants to hear. Like it's all about me. And being able to step outside of that, whether you're a patron at a place or a DJ trying to come up and open at a place, like you need to have some kind of self-awareness and know what is right for the next, what is right for yourself in the next move. It's just crazy to me. I want to pivot really quick because of the way your style of DJing, like how important is the type of equipment that you use? Because this has been a big subject on the podcast recently. It has been like equipment issues at venues or types of equipment that's being used. Now, I know specifically DJs who DJ the way you do are have a preference to what equipment they're using. So how important is that to you?
Yeah, I mean, if you want the Ferrari, you got to give me my equipment. If you want Alexis, you can give me whatever you want. You know what I mean? If you really give me a low end controller, like I guess you're getting a Honda. But it's like in order to do it would be like having Tiesto come in and be like, "Yo, we got techniques, bro. Have a good set." It's like why? Once somebody knows what they're doing, especially once they get to a level where it's like their equipment matters, like. Even Cream, I brought my equipment to one of the spots when you booked me, and that was like the worst experience of my life trying to put DJ equipment in that booth because that booth was terrible. But yeah, the equipment matters because if you want the DJ to do the stuff that they're comfortable doing, they have to play on the equipment that they're comfortable playing on. And especially when you're starting to get into like this day and age when like the S9 has been out for so long that everyone's used to having the pads, and then like the S11 now, it's like if that's kind of the guy you're booking, why wouldn't you give him the stuff so he can do the stuff that he can do like on it?
Yeah,
my DJs hate me because I just complain about equipment all the time. But
yeah,
whenever I'm stuck playing on a controller or something that I don't want to play on, I'll literally say in the group, like, yeah, I'm like 25% a worse DJ today, 20% worse.
but it's honestly,
easy, like easy.
Honestly, it's not even really your fault because you're playing on something that you don't use live.
Yeah.
Like, this is something it's like, all right, I want you to go practice shooting a basketball for your whole life. But then when the game comes, I'm going to let you play with a soccer ball.
Yeah. You play with the women's size ball.
Or a tennis ball. You know what I mean? It's just like that. That's not what we use to practice on. So
yeah, our brains are going so crazy thinking about all the different things that we have to do. The last thing that I want to think about is thinking like where my hands have to go or where this button is or where my effects are.
That's the most important thing to me, the effects.
When you're comfortable using something, you don't have to think. Your hands just go. You don't have to look because you know where everything is. And that's why it makes you a better DJ, not because it is a better piece of equipment, but not because, it's just because you don't have to think and you don't have to look and you just do.
It's just preference. Like for me, my muscle memory is always to go to the top, like the middle of the mixer for my effects. Like then people that use the 900, their memory is to drop their hand down.
Yeah, that's me.
And when you do that 100 times a gig, every transition or you know what I mean? And it's just like something that happens fast. And now every time you go to do that, you have to stop and think. Everything stops 100 times during your set. It's like things aren't going to go the way. You're not going to do 100 out of 100 now. Now you might get 80 out of 100 because some of these transitions might take one extra verse because of the equipment that I'm playing on. You know what I mean? So it's like yeah, you can get through it, but I just always feel like if a DJ is comfortable playing on a certain equipment and you expect him to do anything out of the ordinary other than blending music, you should give him the equipment that he uses. We can all blend music on anything, but if you want him to do something, move a room, like, yeah, if we're doing a brunch, you can give me whatever controller we want. I'll go through music slow. You know what I mean? I'll keep everybody drinking their mimosas. If you want me to move a nightclub, I need my Ferrari.
Yeah.
You know
I don't think venue owners really understand any of this either, because it's like,
I was just going to ask if your market is different than our market. Like, do your bookers and your owners, are they considerate of what kind of equipment they're putting in the place?
So most of the time, I'll say most of the time, and I think that now so more than before. But I think a lot of the venues here at least will have like a 900 and CDJs. Where for me, if I don't mind bringing my own mixer, if I'm gonna be the person that wants a different, like if you're gonna have a Nexus 2 900 and some Nexus or Nexus 2 CDJs, like you got a legit setup. Like right. I don't mind bringing my own mixer, considering that's a personal preference. Right. But I will say a lot of places will at least like have a set of CDJs. But that's any place that I work at. I'll make sure that's pretty much like Cream. When you went to the Cape, he literally put his laptop down. Like everything was already set up.
Yeah.
Like you don't play with gear. Like, so if it's a place that I'm working at, you'll be all set. Because I'm OCD about it, so I've already annoyed them enough that they know it's coming anytime I'm involved.
Yeah. Something that you said earlier was like having to play an extra verse because of equipment. What I don't think the venue owners get is if you have to play an extra verse 4, 5, 6 times throughout the night, that's the moment when the people say, "Oh, let's go check out another place," or let's go check out this bar. Because that's where the energy suck happens, is when you miss your transition, and now you're in the second verse, and people start thinking like,
at yourself in your own head, and you're like, I can't believe,
motherfucker, like I curse myself, like fuck, I missed my.
I can't believe I'm using this motherfucking mixer. Where's the guy that made me use this mixer? That's what I'm thinking right in that moment. Where's the guy that made me use this?
Yeah, that's too funny because it's so true.
I'm using 1 through 5 instead of my fucking pads. This is awful.
I had it happen a couple weeks ago. I had 2 CDJs with broke buttons on it. I just was missing mixes left and right. And I was like, walked out of there just like drained.
I've used some pretty broken equipment, but I think I'd rather use broken CDJs than I can use some CDJ 800s. Just give me my mixer.
Right. I watched Funk Flex play in a nightclub that holds like 2,000 plus people play on a broken, I'm talking like broken Pioneer SRT 1000. Like broken.
Yeah, but he doesn't actually have to play. If one deck's
but he actually does play. Like, I'll give him credit. He really does play. Like, you hear him drop bombs and just flip songs on the radio, but like in a nightclub setting, he really does mix, and he plays like super open format too. So,
well, they didn't get the Ferrari that night.
Yeah, they definitely did not.
No. They basically got him as an MC probably because, you know what I mean? He had to cut and paste together with the equipment, which is fine for Funk Flex. That's what people don't get. Funk Flex can do that. But if DJ RM gets on a stage, people want to hear the music. They don't want to hear me yell at them. They don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want me to yell at them personally. Like, they want the music to make them move. So that's another angle, that like having a bad opener that destroys the room, and then you come on and everyone's looking at the floor uninterested. The worst thing to go on to is a crowd that is uninterested because the music that they just listened to from the opener for 2 hours. Well,
yeah, you gotta then reset the room and open for yourself at that point. Spend the first 40 minutes or 30 minutes getting people going, and then you could go do what you would normally do.
Yeah, but the opener and some people don't realize, like, all right, so now you have a large venue and you put on, they want this opener on, right? Because this opener will bring 50 people. Well, this room holds 1,000. Just throwing square numbers.
Yeah.
So he brought 50 and he pissed off 950 to the point where I couldn't make it would take me 40 minutes to reset them, but I go on at midnight and the venue closes at 2. So how many reactions am I going to be able to get if I can reset the room in 20, 30 minutes? And then hopefully, how many people do you think left? It's already 12:30. Place closes at 2. There's 10 nightclubs around.
But I think that's part of what we do, right? That's part of our job, is to help venue owners and managers understand this and then put the right people in those positions. And really what we do is explain to owners how decisions help or hurt their bottom dollar. And when you could talk to an owner in that way, they'll respect you more and they'll listen to you more, because you can say like, hey, you could put this shitty opener on. They're going to bring 50 people and sell $10 tickets, and they might spend like, $1,000. But when you lose 250 because that person sucks, those 50 people don't mean shit. But when you can actually have that conversation with an owner and explain it, like, it turns the light bulb on sometimes. They're like, that really does make sense. And maybe you're right. And Cream, you've been doing this as a DJ for fucking 15 years. Maybe you might know a thing or two about why having a good opener might help the room and the venue.
Anytime you get in one of those, and I've been in a situation where there was something like that was the case, and I went to essentially It's like, I told you so. Like, hey, I'm not going to tell you what to do. This is your spot. I know, you know what I mean? I know you value my opinion. I'm not trying to step out of place. But if this happens, this is probably going to happen like this. And at least if you give them that heads up, they'll look at it, see it happen, and then the next time you can get a little bit more juice out of them, or a little bit more like respect almost. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, son of a bitch. Like, like, all right, I guess that is right. I guess it does work like that.
Yeah, it's the told you so always comes when you're like, just check the numbers. Like, check the numbers from when you had a good opener last week, and check the numbers when you had the guy that I warned you about this week. And then, you know, that's the told you so. And it's like, just look at the numbers. It's the bottom line. And that's what everybody's worried about at the end of the night anyways.
And that comes back to people hitting you up like, yo, I want to open up. I want to play this spot. Like, what? Why am I don't even know that you're going to do a good job. Like, if I knew you were going to crush it, that's one thing. Like, half of the people these days, if you ask them for a mix, they'll hit you up to open. You ask them for a mix and they're like offended. I've had a DJ be offended before because he had more followers than me that I asked him for a mix, but he had nothing on his page as far as like venues that he played at. So I was like,
People are wild.
Just give him the heart, double tap. Well, I guess this isn't going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, people hit us up all the time too. And like, at first, Gary and I weren't really sure how to handle it, other than like just saying, hey, you know, we have our own guys. We're kind of working with our own guys. And then the question would always be, well, how do we work with you guys? We had to like figure that out a little bit. But something that I think you do an incredible job is creating these relationships with people, not only within your own market, but from other markets, right? So like how we met and how we kind of built our trusting relationship. And it's like, what DJs have to understand is that relationship is the most important part of any connection or getting any booking or going to another market. You can't do those things unless you have some sort of a back and forth and you start to build a little bit of a rapport, right? Even if it's like you said, just like commenting on photos and like going back and forth in the DMs, talking about something that happened, or I watch a video you post and like, yo, that's really dope. What venue is that? And then we just have a little conversation, and like that stuff matters so much in creating that back and forth and creating at least I sort of know this person a little bit now. And it's not just a rando that's hitting me up in my DMs that I've never even spoken to in my entire life.
Exactly. Or like, if you want to play at a venue, at least like show that you've been there one time.
Yeah. Well, like, what are some of the things that someone should do if they want to work at a venue?
All right. So, I would, if you're trying to play, don't expect money, especially if you're not bringing anything to the table. Like if you're just trying to get into the game and not like gig swap, not a lot of people that are been in the game for a while, but if you're just trying to like break in, you're a local dude, I would say make mixes. Definitely send mixes. Definitely show up to the venues that you want to work at. Show up to the venues where the DJs are playing, that with the DJs that you want to work with, the DJs that stylistically you feel like you work with, because even then I'll have DJs that hit me up and DJs that have been in the scene for a little bit, and it's like, my man, like, if you're doing all the hip hop circuit, like, I can't get you. You're doing all the hip hop spots around the corner. Like, this isn't that. Like, they don't do that. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's just having the awareness, though. Like, you have to know where you fit in. If you don't have the awareness to where you fit in, then that's a red flag number one.
Yeah, but you know, not everybody realizes that. Like, everybody looks at like the big room, and if that big room doesn't fit their style, they don't care. They just want to play the big room and think that their style is going to go off there. You're right. So like, the self-awareness isn't there. You just kind of don't get it. But that is the mentality when these younger guys are coming up, is I just want to play that room no matter what the style is.
Well, I will say this to younger guys that are coming up: you do not want to get in one of those rooms if you're not one of those DJs.
Right.
The last thing you want to do is go up there and in the first 5 minutes you realize you don't belong, and then it's not working, and now you got to sit up there for 2 hours because everyone's watching. So instead of that, Go to the rooms that you feel stylistically you fit in. That if you were to get an opportunity, you'd be able to do well. And don't ask for an opportunity until you're ready for it. Because most of the time you get one. If you're lucky, you'll get one opportunity. And I tell people this all the time. Don't ask me to play at Royale, like, if you don't think you're ready, because they'll never have you back if you don't do a good job. And I don't want to not have you back. It's not going to be me, but just understand, like, you have to be ready to play that room. Like, there's too many people just want to just jump up there and jump up to different spots before they're ready for it. And it hurts them. It hurts them in the long run.
Having that patience, I think, is the biggest struggle with DJs right now, is understanding, like, everything takes time. You can't go from being a bedroom DJ or a guy that's playing the local gigs to headlining the biggest venue in the market. It takes years. Like, you have to build those relationships. You have to improve your skills, and you have to go through some of those hard knocks of playing the shitty bar gig with 10 people and making it work, and playing the private event that sucks, but it gets you to understand how to mix rock music into hip hop, or it gets you to understand how to bring some 70s stuff into your sets. Like, the only way to get to that point, to be able to play those big rooms, is to actually experience all the other stuff on the journey up to get there. And I think that's the biggest issue with the younger DJs. They don't realize that they need that to be able to go and be a headliner. And yeah, if they don't go through that and they get that opportunity and they fail, then it's like, if you fail and I give you an opportunity and you fail, it's very hard for me to give you that opportunity again, at least for a while, like a year, like 2 years
too.
Right. And then when someone else asks me, hey, how did that person do? Like, I can't tell them they did a good job.
It's not only that, it's like, how am I going to give you another opportunity over somebody else? There's so many people that want opportunities and you failed already. So instead, just wait till you're ready. Make sure you're going to crush it. And then ask for that opportunity. Because if my first time at Royale, I essentially was offered a residency. And I got lucky. The right guy was there on the right night and liked me. But like, there always is some sort of luck in this game. You got to be in front of the right person, work with the right people. Like, I've been lucky. Like, people laugh when I say that because they're like, oh no, you work hard. And I'm like, no, like, I've had a lot of luck. Like being in front of those DJs starting out, that was luck that I got in front of 2 dope DJs to essentially train me. Like, that happening, that was, yeah, there's always hard work angles to it to get to that point. But this game, you need a little bit of luck sometimes. You just can't be a jerk.
It sounds like you've navigated the whole scene pretty well. And to, obviously this is the first time we've met. Just a little back, a little knowledge for everybody. How, like, we're first meeting on Zoom here. You've navigated the DJ space pretty well. I have cream to bounce stuff off of. Like, do you have somebody that has helped you on the come up, that you've been able to bounce all of these different things that you have to deal with?
DJ Case, from like I said, one of my guys from Boston that helped me out a lot starting out. He's
shout to Case.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends. Me and him always talk about stuff DJ related, like business related. DJ Tao, he's a resident at Royale. Rico Suave. So like, everyone has their guys that, like, kind of their brain trusts almost, where it's like, and those are the people the people that you trust, the people that you work with, and the people that you gotta like grind for. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna make it alone. Like Cream said, like yeah, you want to play other markets. Like, until you get to the point where these clubs are booking you because of you, or because of like your brand, or because they've heard you already, like, you got to get in front of them. Like, all right, so you want Royale to book you? Like, all right, I can get you in front of them. Maybe then after they hear you, they really like you. You can get an opportunity down the road. A date opens up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've already been there. They're comfortable having you come back. Stuff like that happens. But what it would take is the introduction, like, or Birch or something. You know what I mean? They want to have me back, or this or that. It's like, without you putting me, like, you have to have those relationships and the people to put you in those places, and you got to find people that you trust and people that you can work with, because in this industry there's a lot of people that just want to take, and yeah, they might get a little extra here and there, but in the long run that doesn't work out.
Yeah. I think having that like long-term mind state is something that's really important. And one of the reasons why you and I clicked pretty quickly was like, we talk to each other and like, we understand that we both kind of get it. And we both value the same things, which is creating those relationships. Like locally, that was important for us when we started, right? And now it's like, all right, well, we kind of have all our stuff happening in our local market. So like, who's the Cream and Gary of another market? Who's the RM of Miami or, you know, LA or whatever it is? And like, it's fun to me to now try to like find those people and create these relationships with those people, because that's not only going to help me personally and my brand personally, but it's going to help all the people around us. And I mean, you think the same way, and it's like, it's awesome. I think if we could we need to find like all the people around the country that are doing what we do and like get on a little Zoom call together.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to put together like the Avengers.
So something that so after talking about all this, and you know, you're talking about how can DJs get your attention and like creating mixes and all this stuff. So you recently just won Conflict's Patreon contest to create a mix and then get to go headline with him. So talk to us a little bit about that. And like, I think a lot of DJs who have already kind of made it, quote unquote, or are doing their thing, like they think they're above entering a contest for a mix. So what made you enter this contest and why was it important to you?
Well, Conflict's one of those guys that's just been around for a while, stylistically, super open format. So I felt like, you know, it was one of those things where stylistically what I do with what he does, I felt like he'd be able to appreciate it. You know what I mean? I felt like he'd enjoy the way I go through music, and whereas so like, hey, you know where you belong, you know what I mean? You know the rooms that you belong in. So actually a buddy of mine sent me the contest and he was like, yo, you should join this. And I went back and forth with it for a second, and because I don't really join contests, but then I was like, you know, you can't win unless you join. Like, so I was like, whatever. So I sent him a mix and he had a lot of nice things to say, and I'm going to do Sway with him in September 17th, Sway in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
That's a super dope room.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited about it. I commented on one of his stories. I'm like, that room looks really fun. And he's like, do you want to play? And I was like, I definitely. 100%.
That's cool though, because, you know, that's going to open up a whole other market, a whole other relationship. And I mean, Conflict is obviously someone who's kind of influenced a lot of us. I mean, he's one of the reasons why Gary and I started this podcast for sure.
Yeah.
And that's not even to mention just his skills as a DJ. So
yeah, I'm excited, man. Like I said, just like doing a lot of nights and being super busy is dope. But unfortunately, like one thing that doesn't happen is you don't get to catch a lot of people's music, you know, and hear other DJs, see how they maneuver rooms and how they move through rooms. And he's one of the GOATs in the game. So I'm excited for the opportunity to play, for the opportunity for, you know what I mean, the club to hear me, and just to learn. I want to learn as much as I can. I'm going to have my mental pen and pad out, trying to, with the equipment though, DJs. It's with the equipment. Not a pen and pad on what songs the guy's playing.
Shazam all day.
And the order he's playing them in and the loops that he has. So DJ, stop doing that to me. You take notes on the equipment, how they use the equipment to get yourself better.
See, but I think this is a great thing though. Like, being even where you are, there's still someone that you can go and be excited to learn from and watch and be in the booth with. And that alone is a great thing. Not to mention you get to actually DJ and show off your skills in front of that person. So
I was excited, even hearing you, I'm excited to learn, because like you do so well in your market, you know what I mean? So coming out here, it's like Of course. Like, why wouldn't I want to hear you and hear the way you go through music? And honestly, you're not that far off from me. The way you go through music, you play a lot of similar stuff, and so I was. It's funny to hear somebody that's from so far away, and then like, but when they're touching the same genres and like they're kind of touching them the same way, like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, all right.
Well, that's where the experience comes from, right? You go to a new place, you go to a new room you've never played. And in my brain, it's like, well, I can relate this place to XYZ places that I've already played. What would I do there? And then you do that. And if it works, you keep doing it. If it doesn't work, you go do something else.
Exactly.
And then once you hook them, then I was able to just go try to other stuff and play fun stuff and whatever I was, whatever I
would
wanted to
open
do.
for you, but it's going to be full in 45 seconds. So you can just play one song and.
Literally Torino on the Cape was like legit one song and the dance floor was full.
They were ready to go.
That place was fun. That place was really fun. It was like, it reminded me a little bit of like DJs / some stuff we do out here, which was cool.
Well, they definitely liked you, so we'll definitely have you back next summer.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah. So we got you coming down here in August, and we're going to give you the full gamut run of some stuff we do here in Jersey. And we're already working on some stuff for the next trip. So I'm excited to, continue to grow our relationship and then, maybe try and get some of your guys down here and you've already brought Tempo up by you. So I think
I got Tempo coming out again in October. So I just locked him in some dates this past week. So
nice.
Looking forward to that.
Maybe we'll have Tempo, if he's available, open for you at Birch when you're in. I got to pick an opener for you for that day.
I think you wanted to come out, so that'd be dope.
Yeah, that would be dope. We can make that happen for sure.
Sick.
All right. So towards the end of all of our episodes, we do like some quick hitter stuff. Couple sentences, just like whatever comes to mind. So what advice would you give a DJ that's looking to either break into the industry or take the next step from local to playing nightclubs?
Exactly what I said before. Figure out the places that the way that you play, your style fits in. Support those places, reach out to those places, send them music, but go meet them first. Shake their hands, say hi, introduce yourself. So when you get a DM or when you get a follow, hey, you might even follow that person back. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that person was really nice. Like, they said they're a DJ. I'll follow them. When you see them, the follow bump up. You know what I mean? Maybe you follow them back. Like, those relationships and working with DJs that's how you're going to get to another level. So, and you can't do that if you're a jerk or if you like just come into a place and don't understand where you fit in. Like, you gotta work at the places that you fit in. So definitely support those places and go meet those people before you reach out. And when you reach out, send music, like be willing to open, be willing to take whatever opportunity you can get to get your foot in the door. Because if you can get your foot in the door at any place, that is the most valuable thing. Like, I played a ton of free gigs in my day where I knew getting my foot in the door at places and having an owner hear me was far more valuable than anything. You know what I mean? And like, even we can go back to when I first started out, DJ Case, like I was like his Boston tour DJ opener. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I always tell him how appreciative I am of him allowing me to do that. Like, when I first started out, because every room that he put me in, they booked me like for a regular night after that. You know what I mean? Like 617, like Cure Lounge back in the day, like down Boston. Like, there's so many spots where after he either put a word in or, you know what I mean? Or I just because I opened for him, I wasn't asking for money. Stylistically, we fit. Like, he knew I gave a shit.
Right.
So those are the things that DJs look for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And DJs are the ones that make, if you're thinking no one is going to reach back out to you and book you at his 2,000 person venue, like, that's not how it works. Like, he's not looking, the owner of that venue is not in his DMs. Like, all right, this kid from the local, You know what I mean? This local kid, I should put him on over here. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. Like you gotta build those relationships with DJs.
It's funny you say that. The owner of Birch will like send me emails and DMs that he gets, and he'd be like, yo, this guy hit me up, just take care of it. And then I'll reach out to the person and be like, oh, well, I hit up the owner already. And I was like, well, the owner doesn't really make these decisions. Like, he doesn't want to make these decisions. He doesn't care.
Yeah. No.
And that's why he hired me.
Exactly. He just wants the bottom line.
That's funny. All right, next question. What's one positive change you would like to see across the DJ industry?
Whew. Interesting. I mean, I feel like everyone views everyone as competition, where at the end of the day, like the people that end up making it or the people that end up succeeding, like you can tell those people. Like you can tell their energy, you can tell like their skills. So instead of everyone competing with each other and being so cutthroat, I think it would be so much more beneficial for people to work together. Because everybody that is drawing the lines of working here and working here, if you work there, you work there, you work here, like people don't realize and cities don't realize that they're the ones not allowing, like those people are the ones not allowing other people to grow, like as a DJ, as an artist, see different crowds, work and like sometimes do different venues because you're not allowed at that venue. I just feel like everyone should, especially considering we are at the end of the day, we're artists. So like, I don't think there's any reason that everyone should be able to work together.
That's why Get Down exists. Literally. Navigating that stuff is so annoying to me. Like, you can't play here. And if you don't kiss this person's ass, then you can't get in with I don't know.
We're almost at the end of this podcast, and I haven't said anything that's going to get me in trouble. So let's move on to the next question.
All right. What is your biggest challenge right now? It could be DJ related or just like personal life and DJ related.
Biggest challenge. Content. Like trying to stay on top of myself with anything content related. I'm not personally a super social media bro, you know what I mean? So having to stay on top of some sort of content development, because it's like, hey, you can be great, you can be nasty, but if nobody knows,
yeah,
then it's like, you know what I mean? So that's something that I've started to zone in on these past couple of months, is just try to get as much content out so like people can see me do what I do, and hopefully people will like it.
Yeah, the shift in that has been crazy in the last 6 to 8 months. I mean, just have to have somebody near you taking video all the time and just put it out. Just get as much out there as possible, especially if you're doing tone plays and word plays and all this like nasty stuff. Like, and if you're only using it 2 or 3 or 4 times ever, like catch one of those times and just get it out, And
yeah, 100%.
You just don't know what's going to hit.
I was having a conversation with someone recently about like certain DJs that kind of created this huge following on social media and how that helped them, their trajectory grow. And they were like kind of hating on it. And I was like, well, I don't get why you're hating on it, because they still have to show up and deliver the goods. Like, yeah, the social media might get you opportunities, but isn't that the whole point, to try to get as many opportunities as you can to then go and like knock it out of the park and get asked to come back? So I didn't understand why there was hate in that situation. And it's like, it's just part of what we have to do now. It's like, this is part of our jobs. It's like one giant piece of what we do that you have to spend time on, you have to spend money on, and you have to put content on it out. And if you're not, you're probably not going to get booked, or you're going to be doing something else in the near future. So like, I don't think people totally understand how important it really is. Yeah.
Evolve or die. Like, that's the way this game was. It's what is expected of us now, or versus 10 years ago, it evolves. Like it just keeps moving, it keeps changing. Now we have to do all this other stuff. Like we're not just DJing. Like, all right, yeah, people will say back in the day, DJs will show up with crates, right? All right, we got all these records, cool, but that was your only job. I'm sorry, that was your. I'm not saying that wasn't tough. That was your only job. You really probably didn't have to deal with requests because people pretty much knew what they were getting. But it's like we have to not only show up, and now the expectation of us is almost infinite because we should have everything all the time, and we should be able to do everything all the time because we have a computer that's connected to the internet, and then this, and now we have to do the content on top of that. It's like there's like 5 different jobs involved in being a DJ if you want to be even semi-successful.
I think that's an interesting topic and conversation for like a long podcast, like a full podcast, just kind of
like 4 hours left if we
debating,
really want to keep talking.
debating back and forth of like the different eras of DJing. And it's like, you brought that up where it's like DJs back then didn't have to deal with the constant requests and the constant expectation of that you're going to play what they want you to play rather than like being a true tastemaker and playing what you, the professional, thinks should work kind of thing. So that's interesting.
I was born a little too late. A little too late. I should have been one of those.
But like being able to adapt, thinking of like, think of the DJs that aren't here right now who were big, let's say pre-pandemic, that didn't adapt or didn't change or didn't find a way to make another stream of revenue to keep their careers going. And like, that's how it goes, like people just kind of fall off and then the younger guys replace those people that didn't adapt. So, or didn't want to adapt. And that's really, I think, what it is more so.
That's why I always tell people, I'm like, the people that make it in this game are the people that care about the music and don't give up. Because if you don't give up, eventually, as long as you're evolving, you know what I mean? You're going to get yourself to a point where you are one of the best in the room at some point. Because if everyone else falls off and you didn't give up yet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, if the worst player in the NBA is still in the NBA, but everyone else in the NBA retired, he'd be LeBron James. You just can't give up. If you really care about it, your skills will always evolve. So, like, unfortunately, you'll have to learn how to navigate the ever-changing social medias and expectations as far as that's concerned. But if your skills keep evolving, you'll be all right.
All right. So the last thing that we talk about here lately on every podcast is, what are you listening to right now? So not like stuff to do with DJing, but like when you get in the car and you want to listen to music, like what are you kind of digging through at the moment?
Oh, man.
At the gym, wherever it might be.
I'm going to be honest. I try, because of the conversations that we had earlier about like trying to recreate yourself over and over again. I honestly listen to a lot of stuff that probably isn't going to be impressive to say. It's a lot of the same shit because I try to navigate, like, whether it's the big room club stuff and like even the newer, like the tech house stuff. It's like, you're always looking for those couple of edits. You know what I mean? So whether it's either Pandora or just Mixcloud or listening to DJs or like the Club Killers podcast, stuff like that, like just to try to hear like different edits, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you can't find those edits, but at least it gets your brain. Like I said, all these things, like doing the shitty parties, doing this, doing that, like it's all push-ups. So that when you get to the point where you're a headliner, you're up there like this because you've already done all the work in your brain. Like, I know every direction I need to go if this doesn't work, if that doesn't work. And that's what I just try to continue to look for new ways to do the same thing over and over again. So I'm realistically just trying to listen to as much club stuff. It's not, I'm sorry, that answer is probably not super like progressive or like I'm listening to Drake by the pool. But no, I'm just always invested in just trying to do something for a set, you know what I mean? So it's like anytime I get that, any moment I have where I can listen to some music, I just try to listen to something that can potentially get the gears turning to, if I hear one song that triggers the brain, that can turn into a 4 or 5 song set that I can put together, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that's important too, to like, listen to the DJs or artists that you really like, and then like pulling something from their set that you could do in your own. So I totally agree with that. Gary, what are you listening to? I'm going to peel the curtain back here. Gary and I recorded a podcast yesterday, and this podcast is going to come out next week. So we're going to have to come up with something new that we're currently listening to from one day ago.
I have something new.
All right, what do you got?
I went for a ride this morning, and I listened to the Rufus Du Sol album because I haven't dug into the whole thing yet. I only was like listening to pieces of it because I feel like some of his stuff can be remixed in really interesting ways. Somebody just did a really good remix of, I think Tycho did a remix of one of his tracks that I love, that I'm going to just sneak into an opening set somewhere just as a guilty pleasure of mine. So yeah, the Rufus,
you got to sprinkle your flavor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's why we're here.
I was like always super early. That'll be a first 3 track of the night kind of thing and really set the tone. So yeah, Rufus Du Sol album.
I don't know what I got. I might have to go listen to your either your Club Killers mix, or is your mix that you sent Conflict out yet?
Yeah, it was 412.
Oh, so it was the Club Killers.
Yeah, so I sent him the Club Killers mix because it came out the same week as his contest, and then we had a little back and forth about it, and he was like, well, he wanted something specifically for himself, so I actually sent him an additional mix after that. But yeah, the Club Killers mix was 412.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes so everybody could find it.
Anything else that you want to promo? Actually, I'll say this before we do that. So you're going to be in town here. Let's see, August 18, 19, 20, and I'm going to convince you to stay the 21st, which we'll talk about off air. But
it's going to be a day.
New Jersey, New York City DJs, come hang out, come meet RM. We'll post where he's going to be. But probably going to do like the Tally Ho, Ashford, Birch. And we're going to try and sneak them down the DJs on Sunday. We'll see.
Hey,
but
don't try me with a good time.
definitely come meet RM. I think if you listen to this podcast, you kind of understand why he's successful. So come introduce yourself, pick his brain. Anything else you want to plug or promote, or you want to send people to go check out?
No, man. I just when I'm out there, hopefully I can link with and talk to as many DJs as I can. You know what I mean? I love like-minded people. I love people that are in it for the music. So definitely, if you got the night off, because I know that's tough too, come out, and I appreciate you guys having me and taking care of me.
Hell yeah.
Good stuff, right, guys.
Thank you for jumping on with us, and I appreciate everything you do. It's been great kind of meeting you and building our relationship, and thank you for all the opportunities you've given me. I'm greatly appreciative, if you use the right word. But we'll put all the links for all RM stuff in the show notes, but thank you guys for listening. My name is Cream.
Gary W.
RM. Peace, guys.
Peace, guys.